Getting my rewards. The Shadowverse is pretty damn cool. Got this crossover stuff. Oh! Hey! You don't wanna. Yeah, you don't wanna see about this. Wait, let me turn that off. Yeah. How rude of me. YouTube, what is going on? It's yours truly, SirStrange, aka SirStrange, in a building at your service. And we're back in Dimension 87. It's good to see y'all, man. How y'all doing? You alright? You good? Hope you good. Anyway, it's Tuesday, ain't it?
Nope.
Yeah, it is. It is Tuesday. Well, technically speaking, Tuesday's about to be over. But y'all know I'll be doing this, so we gotta catch up. Gotta catch up. Kind of behind here, but we're gonna speed up and catch up properly, you know what I'm saying? Since today's Tuesday, you know what that means. That means, going back to tradition, it's Random Tuesday. And I decided that for today's Random Tuesday, I figured I'd go over something that's been having my interest on lockdown lately. And for those, if you haven't noticed yet, your boy is a big Pokemon fan. I love Pokemon. Who doesn't? Pokemon is such an iconic, such a fun game, manga, anime, trading card game, a bunch of cool things about that freaking title, those beautiful yellow and blue letters that just has someone hyped for it, you know? So as y'all know down the way, we are in Generation 9 with Scarlet and Violet, and for those that has played it, I applaud you. I applaud you for playing it and still playing it to this day with all of the updates it's having, and yeah, the DLC is going to be pretty hype too. I'm very hype about the DLC, and I already got it. It's on its way. I hope y'all got it too. So for those that has played it, y'all are already done. You're already doing all the extra stuff, the shiny hunting and stuff like that. But the other part of y'all that has beat the game has been keeping a close ear and a close eye on some of these PokeTubers, i.e. Ruffle Rowlet, H-Drive, or HD Drive, whatever his name is, Arrow, Drogain, and Tyranitar Tube, just to name a few. And these guys lately has been going over speculations and lore of what we are to expect in the DLC. Now, I'm going to take this time to say, if you don't want to get spoiled and you haven't played the game yet, then please, I'm saying right here, spoiler warning if you have not played or beat the game yet. But hey, if you don't care, then dive deep with me into this lore, because right now, this has got to be one of the craziest stories we have had in Pokemon history. So, I got this video up here with homeboy Drogain going over the ending, trying to explain the ending of Scarlet and Violet, and he's asking, is Gita actually evil? And he's got some theories on there. I like Drogain. I think Drogain does a really deep dive into what could be potential truth into the lore. But other than that, I figured I'd share some of this hype with y'all, and y'all dive deep with me. So, not much talking. Let's get in there.
Pokemon Scarlet and Violet's ending to a somewhat very cheerful game up until that point was pretty jarring and left many with a lot of questions. Such as, is the Paradox Pokemon truly the future and past of the Pokemon world that we know? Or what exactly is going on with the sense of using a time machine within the Pokemon world? I'm going to attempt to explain exactly what exactly happened that was kind of left out of the dialogue in the game, and kind of basically alluded to, but not 100% confirmed. So some of this will be my own theorizing, and then some of this will be from the plot of the game itself. So if this video is going to be for you, sit back and relax and enjoy my commentary on this pretty much otherwise kid game going adult for about the last 30 minutes of the game. Now before we go any further, we have to discuss exactly how traveling in time really works versus what entertainment has molded your mind to think. So
and then once again, like I said, if you have not finished the game, please, I don't want to ruin anything for y'all. If y'all haven't finished, then hey, I'm gonna have to, you know what I'm saying, I'm gonna have to have y'all skip to a point where there's no spoilers or something like that. But other than that, if you don't really care, then stick around. This is interesting.
For example, in most entertainment, time machines require you to pick a point in time or destination you want to go to, and then ultimately you go there for the means of intensive, powerful science, whether it by being machines, traveling through a wormhole, etc. However, time is a sphere, it's relative. And what this means is that time is happening all at once, all the time, and traveling through time, if it was ever possible, because no one so far has done it yet, but if it was ever possible, the time you technically travel to may not be the same time you can travel to again after you've already visited that destination. I know that's confusing, but allow me to explain because this game has already shown that that is the case. Professor Turo from Pokemon Violet, for example, had traveled to a dystopian future where Pokemon were mostly machines with some semblance of organic species left within them. Now, it is unknown whether the entire planet is inhabited by these organic species that are basically been fused with machines, which is the concept of transhumanism. A lot of people believe that the next step of human evolution is to merge ourselves with machines in order to become a more advanced species. This would be more like transspeciesism, combining machines with obviously animalistic life like Pokemon, where they maintain their organism, their basically fleshy form, but they combine the rest of their body with machine in order to live forever. Now, that is a very dystopian future identity and a whole other topic in general to dive into when it comes to the concept of evolution, which that in and of itself is very shaky ground. But this is a game, so we'll let it slide. But the point is that in this future that Professor Turo did travel to, he traveled at one point to this dystopian future where he found the Miraidon that was docile, loving, basically like any other Pokemon, wanted a trainer to be friends with. But then at some point he traveled to this same, or what he thought was the same, dystopian future, and received a Miraidon that was absolutely evil. So, how can there be two separate futures with two different personalities of Miraidons? It's very simple. Time is relative. Time is a sphere. But time is different depending on where you travel to. We've never been able to prove that we could travel through time in the first place, let alone if we could travel to the same time period in the exact same way every single time. It's very well possible that every time you travel to the future, you're going to get a slightly different future. So, for example, Professor Toro could travel 3 times in the future. One time, find a Miraidon that is positive. One time, find a Miraidon that is evil. And one time, travel to the future and end up in a completely different scenario where none of this dystopian metallic organism Pokemon thing ever happens.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's almost awesome. Marvel Avengers type shit. You know, with the whole Infinity War and how the what's shorty name? How the the ancient one kind of explained the different strands of timelines splitting where each future is different. It makes sense. Makes sense. So yeah, he's not gonna in turn run into the same Miraidon because it's a different time strand.
So therefore, one thing I want to nail down with the ending of Pokemon Scarlet and Violet in both forms, I'll get to the past in a second, is it's not relative that that is the future of Pokemon. A lot of people are saying this is the future of Pokemon. We don't know that for sure. that could be a future of the Pokemon world, but we don't know for sure if that's going to be the future of the Pokemon world. It's one I'd like to visit. That would be a very interesting game to play, but therefore, we have to understand that time is relative and it doesn't exactly work the same every single time you go forwards and backwards, if it's even possible to do so in the first place. With that being said, this same hypothesis would basically reside for Pokemon Scarlet with the traveling to the past. Just because you travel to the past and you ended up in a quote-unquote past world of Pokemon, it does not mean that that is the past world of Pokemon entirely. While there could be scenarios where there's certain universes and pockets have very small, minute differences, there could be a situation where you travel back in the past and no Pokemon existed at all. We have to keep that concept in mind. So, with that concept in mind, now we can really talk about the endings of both Pokemon Scarlet and Violet and the repercussions as to what it's going to cause, if at all, possibly in DLC, or explain the ending in general. And it's very simple. Basically, what was going on here was both professors were deciding to try to create a utopia where you could bring Pokemon from the past, meld them with Pokemon in the present, and be able to build this paradise type of environment, essentially rebooting the population of Pokemon with either species from the past or future. The problem with this is, and why they are dubbed Paradox Pokemon, is because these Pokemon went extinct or are so removed in the future for a reason that essentially if these Pokemon were to populate the Earth now, they would destroy everything in sight because both Pokemon are vicious. See, the Pokemon...
Or they were a part of each respective professor's imagination. That's another theory that we're gonna get into later. Let's get through with this one.
that we live with in this current time period, in this world, they're used to trainers. They're used to having that relationship with trainers. But as we saw in Pokemon Legends Arceus, which was only taking place about 300 years prior to all the current regions that we have to play in Pokemon, it was shown that these Pokemon at one point were animalistic and willing to threaten and kill humans at a moment's notice. It wasn't until very recent in the Pokemon history that we were able to tame these creatures and become trainers and become bonded together as, pets would be with, humans in our world. So it shows that whatever these professors were trying to do, they were absolutely out of their mind because they full well knew that these Pokemon were going to destroy the planet. So therefore, it's very interesting that the android portions of them remained that humbleness of humanity, where the androids of either the female professor or the male professor had come to a realization that this is not a good idea, it needs to be stopped. So therefore, once they were stopped, they went to that alternate time frame, that alternate place where the real professors traveled to, and basically cut off all of the ability for them to travel back from that time period back to the Paldean region. So as of this time, as far as we know, both time machines in both alternate realities, because here again, Pokemon Scarlet storyline exists in its own universe, its alternate reality of the Pokemon world, and Pokemon Violet exists, it's in its own pocket reality in the Pokemon world.
So right, two different split off timelines
within alternate universes going on at the same time.
Right.
So it's multiple different variations of time. Now, to explain how that works, I'm going to explain how our relationship, for example, is with Earth versus Jupiter. So, for example, let's say, obviously, we reside on Earth. We know that it takes 365 days for us to travel around the sun. Jupiter, I don't have the exact figure on me, but I know is a much longer time frame to travel around the sun. While we all are living together in the same time frame, the travel around the sun is different. So therefore, someone on Earth can live to be 90, where if a human was placed on Jupiter, and let's just say that Jupiter had the same atmosphere and everything that Earth does, which is impossible to have, but let's just say that it did, we would only live probably approximately about 20 to 30 years because of the time frame it takes for Jupiter to go around the sun. So therefore, again, these pocket universes can exist alongside each other, have these same similar, experiences, but ultimately never be the same world that we experience. And this boils down to even your player's experience. Someone's traveled through the Paldean region in Pokemon Violet. How they experienced it is different than how you experienced it. Which direction did you go? Did you go left from the academy? Did you go right from the academy? These are all things that time, again, is relative. It's all happening at once. We're all playing the game at the same time, but all the events are different. It's melded into the core of the Pokemon series from the very, very beginning. It's just the first time that a game actually went all out in explaining it. Before we close out this video, we have to talk about the sinisterness of the Elite Four, especially Chairwoman Geeta. See, terrestrialization, obviously, as we know, comes from the future or the past, depending on what game you're playing. Pokemon Scarlet, the past, obviously the future from Pokemon Violet, either through Professor Zeta or Professor Toro. But in order for this project to actually come to fruition, it would have had to have gotten the blessing from the Elite Four. See, it's been well established that Elite Fours and Champions pretty much are the government of the region. They are the ones that everyone look up to make the big decisions on what their region is going to basically be. And Geeta very well knew the dangers of terrestrialization and where it came from. I'm hard-pressed to believe that she was put in the dark on that. And she very much reminds me of the same thing that Chairman Rose did in Galar. He was seeking to obtain power from an ancient event that had happened between Eternatus, Zacian, and Zamazenta. This is a very similar situation. Geeta wanted power for her region. How do I know this? Well, she constantly seeks new champions to be crowned in her region. She wants to recruit powerful trainers to her cause. Why? Do you think she does it for pure amusement? No, she does it because she wants her region to be the most powerful region in all the regions of Pokemon. Hence why she declares herself as the quote-unquote top champion. You see, she allows these children to become champions, but she never relinquishes her own rank. That's a sign of maintaining power, dictatorship. On top of that,
which I gotta say is pretty funny and interesting at the same time, because truth be told, Geeta, out of all the champions we've had in Pokemon history, is the weakest one. I mean, she was a push over. Like, she was too easy, bro. Too easy. Like as a matter of fact, the very last battle you have in Area 0 was more challenging than Geeta, and she's supposed to be the champion. It's funny right there. It's real funny, but also at the same time, her search for power. Right now the difference is he mentioned Sword and Shield with Chairman Rose. The difference right now between these two generations in Sword and Shield, we knew who our third legendary was. Now in Scarlet and Violet, we are speculating or guessing that our recent reveal of Terapagos, our little crazy multi-typing turtle, is our third legendary. But some have been speculating that this turtle, it may be it, but at the same time something's kind of off, because it seems a little too, you know what I'm saying, it seems a little too sweet and docile and not very not very harmful, which is leading people to believe that maybe Terapagos is just either number A, a fraction of what the third legendary is, or Terapagos is in its like a I don't know, like a zen state where it's docile and everything, but when it's threatened or challenged, then we see what it really is. You know what I'm saying? So yeah, we're still in the dark as far as our third legendary goes in Scarlet and Violet, as opposed to Sword and Shield with Eternatus. We found out off rip. Okay, yeah, Eternatus is bad news. Eternatus is the reason behind Gigantamaxing Dynamaxing the whole crazy phenomenon of kaiju Pokemon. So yeah, she knows and is up to something for sure, bro. She up to something, but still weak though.
Her and her Elite Four buddies all have the compass symbol on their hands. A compass is a representation of adventure and seeking what? Your own treasure. Their treasure is power. That's what they wanted. And when they realized that terrestrialization came with a price, a devastating Pokemon species from the past or devastating Pokemon species from the future, they could not themselves leave their positions and organizations to take out what was going on in the Paldean crater. They needed to craft someone to do it themselves or to do it for them. That someone was you. You essentially quelled the problem that they were having. Now, terrestrialization is going to continue to exist within the region because these Pokemon are already flooded the region all over, so terrestrialization will always now be there. But the source needed to be kept secret from the rest of the region. Can you imagine if that would have came out and where it came from and how much in danger the region was because its quote-unquote government, the Elite Four, didn't step in to take care of it? They used the child to do so. That's why they were so positive of your growth in the region. It wasn't because they're dumb as rocks and they want to see someone grow and be powerful. They sought you out from the very beginning. Even the director of the academy sought you out specifically to give you 3 very powerful Pokemon exclusive to the region. They want.
That's facts. No, for real, that is facts. Like, bruh, the principal of this grand school comes and seeks you out. He singles you out in particular. That's crazy. Like that's something we really don't question. It's like, hold on. Out of all, you got so many students at this academy already. Why me? Or why you in this case? Why am I being seeked out by the principal of this grand school? For what reason? What like we need more information on us as a character when it comes to this thing, bro, because it's like, yeah, we were chosen. We were handpicked, sought out somehow, some way, shape, or form. We were chosen. More on that.
Wanted you immediately. Now, why is that? I don't know. No one does. It's not going to be explained in the story. But what we do know
Probably
is
not.
you are the one that quelled the crater crisis, and no one talks about it except you and your 3 companions that you made along the way.
You know, this whole thing. This whole thing is yeah. I've been diving really deep, and I just wanted to share it with y'all because like I'm the only one right now. As far as my little circle goes, I'm the only one that's really like trying to dive deep into the lore and the theory and to try to figure out the answers to come before we even get them. And it's, I'm not gonna lie, man, it's pretty lonely. I need more folks to discuss these theories with, you know what I'm saying? So far, all we know now is that our 2 DLCs, we got the first DLC that's coming out that's involving the Teal Mask and Ogre Pond, and then we got the other DLC that's revolving on the Indigo Disc, Terrapagos. And just going off of the context clues of the pictures and the cover art and stuff like that they have revealed to us, all we know is that the sister school location, which is in the middle of the ocean somewhere underwater, and we now have our supposed 3rd legendary within Terrapagos from Heath's stories within the Scarlet or Violet book. And so far, everything that has been predicted or has been drawn out in that man's book kinda sorta came to pass, but not quite. And this is why it's so interesting to try and figure out what are we going to get from this 3rd legendary. Because remember, we just recently got Iron Leaves and Walking Wake. And in the books, they didn't look like that. In fact, in the books, both of them were like fusion forms of their three respective legendary groupings. When it came to Iron Leaves, it was a combination in the book of the actual one, which is Virizion, Cobalt, and Terrakion. It was like a fusion of the three. And the same with Walking Wake. It was a fusion of Suicune, which is the main form, and Raikou and Entei. Now, I'm not gonna hold you. I like the artwork that was in the book, but hey, Walking Wake's still fire. I like it. So it's making me and the rest of the world think that the depiction of what we are wanting to believe is Terapagos could have been what we saw in the book. But once again, something about Terapagos' design now doesn't seem so menacing right now. It just looks like a real sweet, humble legendary, and I'm curious to know more. So yeah, maybe we'll bring this back. Maybe we'll discuss this a lot more, and maybe watch some more of these lore videos. In particular, this guy Joe Game. I'm gonna link this man somewhere in this video somewhere, but I like how deep he goes. We might watch more of his videos to dive even more into the lore of what we could possibly get in DLC, and maybe more answers into Paldea as a whole, because Paldea so far is the most interesting of all the Pokemon stories we have, and it's got me hooked, and it's got a lot of other stuff too. So that's it, guys. I hope y'all enjoyed this video. Comments down below. What's your thoughts on this whole thing? Like, are y'all excited about the lore as much as I am? Let me know, man. Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it. Anyway, y'all know how I end it. We out this piece. Salute, deuces, and I'm gonna see y'all next time. Peace. I'm out.